Hello, my name is Blake Jones. Welcome to Pomegranate Taxes. Today's video is about filling out the W-4 form. This form is to tell your employer how much federal income tax to withhold from your paycheck, each paycheck throughout the year. So step one is pretty straightforward. You're going to fill out your basic information and then your filing status, either single, married, filing joint, or head of household. For unique situations, you could be married filing separate or qualifying surviving spouse. For step two, this only applies if you have more than one source of income, if you have two or more in your household. So you hold more than one job at a time, or you're married filing joint and your spouse also works. So the first option is 2A, which is the IRS tax withholding estimator. It's pretty detailed. It's going to take 20 minutes, maybe more, but it is also a helpful tool, especially with like tax planning and looking at kind of the deductions and credits that could apply to you. What you'll need a pay stub or pay stubs, other income info, most recent tax return. Again, this is if you have more than one source of income. If you don't, you're going to just continue on with step three. So first, let me tell you about 2A though with this estimator, so you know what questions they're going to ask you. So I've filled out a sample one here. This is what it looks like after you click on that button. So your tax status, types of jobs, planning to claim dependents or not, if you're over 65 or not, is your job a salary job or an hourly or a pension? Is it all year or a portion of this year, or have you not started it yet, but you're going to later this year? How frequently are you paid? This is where you'll need your most recent pay stub if you're looking at the past. Um, so let's say you had a job, you quit, and now you're starting a new job in the middle of the year, and that's why you're filling out the W-4. Where you're going to need to provide in here the information about your old job, and so um, that's where you would put in, your most recent pay period and your most recent pay date. You would adjust this. For example, I had this job earlier this year. Right now, I'm just saying this job is for the whole year, but you're going to have to answer the questions based on how many jobs, if you're changing jobs, etc. It's going to ask you about how much you've had withheld this year so far with federal income tax. How much is it per pay period? 401k contributions, health insurance premiums, HSA contributions. If you've gotten a bonus or will be getting a bonus, how much? Then the second source of income, all those same questions as well. And if you have other sources of income like investment income or unemployment insurance income or business net self-employment, and if so, how much you're going to withhold in federal income tax for those jobs or make estimated tax payments. So it can be pretty complex depending on how many sources of income you have. Next, you're going to look at adjustments to income. So again, I mentioned I have pretty much all of these. I have a video about like student loan interest, educator expense, traditional IRA deductions, HSA deduction, and more, alimony paid, for example. Then it's going to ask about standard or itemized deductions. So this is helpful if you're not sure. You can watch my video, of course, but you can also put in the information here and say, well, my mortgage interest is this, my property tax and income tax for the year will be this. So in Utah, that's Utah income taxes and property taxes if you own a home, gifts to charity, and it'll tell you, okay, your itemized deductions are $24,500, but the standard deduction is $29,200. So you're going to it will automatically choose the standard deduction for you because itemized deductions is lower. Tax credit's going to look at how many children you have, what are their ages, and other credits like the education credit or the business or energy efficient vehicles credits. After you put in all that information, now it's going to tell you kind of how to fill out. It's going to give you actual W-4 form and what it should look like in filling that out. It can take a while to load sometimes, but no more than a minute or two. So this is going to say what you've told us is that you're going to have this much withheld throughout the year, and this is going to be the total tax obligation for the year. So you're going to owe this much, and to be able to avoid owing that tax and possible penalties when you file your return, this is how you should fill out your W-4 form. So you'll be able to see through this. Click on download. So in this case, it'd be 2 W-4 forms because you have 2 different jobs for this household. And so when you click on those, it'll show for the higher income W-4 job, higher income job W-4 form, you're going to fill out this. So you're going to have an extra $129 per pay period withheld to make sure you're caught up and not owing any taxes. And then on the lower income job, this is how it's going to be filled out. And it's usually just going to be kind of more blank. You're not going to make any adjustments on that. So that's what the withholding estimator does for you. That is part 2A, which is kind of, let's go through this entirely, fill everything out, complicated situation, and it will create that W-4 for you. And you can do that for free through the IRS. The second option is part B, using the multiple jobs worksheet on page 3, and I'll go through that. But first, I want to just say step 3, if there are only 2 jobs total, you can just check this box. It just means that you need to, for example, let's say your spouse works, his or her W-4 needs to be updated to check this box as well. So both W-4s have the checked box, and it should be more accurate than B if your pay at the lower paying job is more than half of the pay at the higher paying job. So let's say it's $80,000 at the higher paying job, $50,000 at the lower paying job. That's when you would go with C, mark that box, and move on to the other steps. But we'll also look at part B and how that works. So what you do is you use the multiple jobs worksheet on page 3. So if you have 2 jobs, you're going to be filling out this box. If you have 3 jobs, we're not going to go over that because of time. But 2 jobs, we'll look at the worksheet here. So if you're married filing joint, 2 jobs, the higher paying job 80 to 100,000. Say the lower paying job is 40 to 50,000. $6,090 is your number. So you're going to fill out 6,090 here. And you're going to skip to line 3 because we're talking about 2 jobs. How often are you paid for the highest paying job? Let's say it's every other week. Then we're going to say 26. And then we're going to say 6,090 divided by 26 is 234. Just say $234. And then you're going to go back to step 4C and put, for that higher paying job, you need $234 extra withheld for federal income tax. That's not going to be the total. That's going to be extra withheld for that job. So that's how you do step B, partially at least for 2 jobs. It's a little bit more complex for 3 jobs. Step 3 is, do you have children, qualifying children under the age of 17? So not 17, but 16 and younger. Let's say you have 2, so that would be 4,000. Let's say you have a 17-year-old or older, that would be $500. So then you'd add those together, it'd be $4,500. For step 4, other income not from jobs. If you want tax withheld for income you expect this year that you won't have withholding, let's say you have a bunch in savings and it's accruing $1,000 of interest. You're not going to have any withholdings, but maybe you want to, you need to, because of taxes. Then you could have $220 per paycheck. So that's what you have to be careful about. It is per pay period, not per month here. And the last part is step 4B, deductions. So we're going to go back to page 3. And this is starting with itemized deductions or not. So mortgage interest, charitable contributions, state and local taxes, and medical expenses in excess of 7.5% of your income. I'd say don't worry about medical expenses unless they're extremely high, like 15,000 or more for most people. Then you're going to put in your filing status. So if you're married filing joint, 29,200 here. And if line 1 is greater than line 2, then subtract line 2 from line 1 and enter the result here. If line 2 is greater than line 1, that means you're taking the standard deduction, and you're going to put 0 here. Then you're going to put an estimate for student loan interest, deductible IRA contributions, and other adjustments. Add lines 3 and 4 to get a result here. Let's just say your student loan interest will be a total of $100 for the year. So we'll just put 100 to make it more complex. So because this is a deduction, it's actually going to lower your withholdings kind of in a way. And so your employer HR provider will help make those adjustments with their software. So once you've gone through all of that, then you sign, you date it, you provide it to your employer. So as you can see, it can be really complicated for some people. Otherwise, if you don't have more than one job, and say you're filing married with one source of income or single with one source of income, then you're just going to say, do you have children? If so, how many, what ages? Put in that for step 3, and most likely not have to worry about step 4. So really it's step 1, you fill out, step 3, and sign and date for the simple situations. And you don't have to go through this whole process of figuring out so many different confusing tools here. If it gets really complex, I definitely recommend the tax withholding estimator if you're doing this on your own. So I hope you enjoyed this video about how to fill out Form W-4. For other questions, because this is somewhat of a new form, the IRS has different FAQ here, as well as if you want to really get into the weeds of everything, there's publication 505, tax withholding and estimated tax. For example, if everything's through your business and you're self-employed, then maybe this is more applicable, but I'll also have other videos about that for you to be able to review and learn about.